welcome to Same Script, Different Cast with segment Cut Act 1, which is an extension of the regular SSDC podcast. I typically do that with Wikipedia Plot Reader and Movie Pop-Up. Cut Act 1 is a solo review, and today you're with me, SeenIt, and I'm going to go over, this is season 9, episode 1 of American Horror Story. I'm just going to go over a few of the plot points that happen, so spoilers. The season has 10 episodes. I think they're typically 8. I'm very excited. I've already seen some of the homages, throwbacks just in the preview. So, all right, let's get into it. The show starts in 1970. We're in a log cabin. There are bunk beds that are lined by the windows. Everyone is asleep except for, there's some premarital sex threesomes going on right there. And I don't know their names, so I'm just going to give them names. Tion is the blonde one. Lisa has the dark hair, and Corey, that's the dude. So Tion, she actually thinks she hears something. She even says that to Lisa and Corey, I know y'all hear that. She turned back to them I know you guys hear that. But Lisa and Corey are going at it. Tion takes off her shirt, and it's while she's taking off her shirt, blam, there's a fire poker that goes through the faces of Lisa and Corey. So they were kissing, and there's a fire poker that goes straight through. She actually should have just trusted her gut. Tion, she shook. She falls out of the bed trying to get away. She gets killed, and her ear is sliced off. And she's dragged through the middle of the cabin. And then the camera pans to all of the different victims in the cabin. As the camera pans, you see, people are laying on top of each other. It's a bloody mess. But you also see that their ears are missing. And you see that the guy who's known later as the Jingly Man, because he has a lot of keys, jingle, jingle. And he takes the ear. I don't know if it's one or two. I think it's just one ear. So he slices it off as a keepsake, and he puts it on a chain. So then we cut to present day. It's 1984, and we're in an aerobics class. The instructor is Xavier. It's the same guy who was in, I think just last season, the Apocalypse, the guy who played Satan's son. He is instructing the class. It's a lot of thrusting, leg lifting, if you think about the aerobics with the leotards and the leg warmers, very, very 80s. So there we meet Brooke, who's played by Emma Roberts, Chet, Xavier, who I mentioned, Ray, the black guy, he's also an orderly. For some reason, whenever I hear orderly, I think of disorderlies with the fat boys. And we meet Montana, which is Carrie Fisher's daughter, and she's been in previous seasons and iterations of American Horror Story. She was also in Scream Queens, which is by the same guys who did American Horror Story. And so far, I can say that this episode reminds me of Scream Queens. And Scream Queens was so funny. I think it only got maybe 2 to 3 seasons. It was really funny. Back to AHS 1984. Brooke is new. She meets Montana in the shower. Montana's I saw you checking out Chet. And she's no, it's not like that. And so that's how they spark up not the friendship, but just meeting. So they meet there. And then Montana introduces Brooke to the rest of the folks. Brooke is actually new in town. She's there. She's taking classes at college there. They explain to Brooke how they all know each other. Apparently, Montana and Xavier dated for a minute. Chet and Ray met at the gym. So they just met each other in Los Angeles. And Xavier is I'm going to call him a struggling actor. So they talk about the Olympics because that's what Chet was going out for, but he did not pass the drug test. Apparently, he likes steroids. You can see, he has an all right body. Yeah, but he didn't make it to the Olympics. So, and that's what they're talking about. They're talking about how the Olympics are coming to town and they want to get out because it's going to be so crowded. And Xavier talks about how they can all be camp counselors. They can get out of LA, escape, go to the woods. They don't have to be around the hustle and bustle of the Olympics. And so they Xavier invites everyone, and then Montana invites Brooke. And Brooke is nah, I'm good. I'm just gonna take my classes. But Montana's if you wanna come, you should come. Here's my telephone number. And she writes her number on Brooke's hand. So cut to that evening. We're actually at Brooke's house. She goes to sleep and she's attacked. there's this guy, he comes in, he's asking for jewelry. And I actually had to research this because I was unfamiliar with Richard Ramirez. He was a serial rapist that terrorized California with the spree of satanic murders. And so that's what this person emulates. Either that's him or there's some sort of a copycat or something. So she screams out and the neighbors say, we've called the police. And the guy, the Night Stalker, Nightwing, Nightman, he says, by the power of Grayskull, the strength of Satan, I will find you. And so then he leaves. With that, Brooke's like, I'm not staying here. I gotta get the fuck out. So she does go to the camp to become a counselor. So then it cuts to the van. She talks about her experience. She talks about how she doesn't even know how she's still alive. Xavier is driving, and as he's driving, he hits someone with his car, which is a homage to I Know What You Did Last Summer. Okay, let me go back real quick. They do stop at a gas station before Xavier hits the guy. And, oh my gosh, at first glance, I thought it was Patrick Swayze. I was like, what the fuck? But no, it is his brother. My gosh, they look just alike. So, Patrick Swayze, brother, I call him that, Bruce Swayze, Roy, okay, that's his name. And he tells them, after they explain to him where they're going up to the camp, he's just like, y'all need to turn the fuck around. This isn't the place for you. You guys need to go back to the city. I think that'd be really awesome. So that's basically what he was saying. Get out of here. Y'all are gonna die. This is some fucked up shit. Get out of here. And so that whole gas station scene is under the same lines of Cabin in the Woods, Friday the 13th. You have that person that's trying to warn them. I even think, what was that movie? The Final Girls, which is a parody. It's really funny. I highly recommend The Final Girls. So it's along those same lines. Okay, now back to Xavier hitting the guy. I still know, or I originally know what you did last summer. So the only person that's all leave his ass, he's already hurt, is Xavier. Because he notices like cuts and things on his body, indicating that maybe this guy has been around there for a little bit. No one agrees with Xavier. They are like, we need to take this guy with us. We need to make sure that he is okay. So they carry the stranger, they lay him in the van, and now they are off to the camp. When we arrive to the camp, we are greeted by the head counselor, or the owner of the camp, which we found out later, Margaret Booth. And Brooke is like, we need a medic. So there, we go to the infirmary, we meet the nurse. She says that the stranger is dehydrated, and it's a good thing you guys brought him in. And the whole time Xavier's like, he was just on the side of the road, and we're just doing a good thing. So after that, they leave the stranger with the nurse, and they take a tour of the grounds. So Margaret was giving this speech. She's showing them, this is the boys' cabin, this is the girls' cabin, red and blue. You're red, she's blue, whatever, don't make it purple, none of that fornication stuff, that's not going down here. So she goes into that speech. And then we also meet the chef, which is a man lady. We learn the strict rules that are rooted in her religion, but we don't find out why she's so religious and in God's mercy until we learn her story and how she feels like it's a miracle that she's still alive. Cut to the campfire, and everyone is just talking about Brooke's interaction with the Night Stalker, Night Strangler, the Nightman, and the nurse says, well, there have been some stuff that's happened around here. And she goes into talking about the Jingly Man, and she actually gives the history of him. Like when he returned from the Vietnam War, he had a taste for killing. So we learn in her story that he attacked everyone in the cabin and they died, and an ear was removed from each victim. In comes Margaret. She corrects the nurse who mentioned there were 10 deaths. Because the nurse said there were 10 deaths, but then Margaret's like, no, there were 9. And Margaret goes into how she would have been the 10th one had she not pretended to be dead. And she was like, by the grace of God, she like levitated out of her body like this is the further or something. And when the Jingly Man went to cut off her ear, she didn't flinch or anything. And she was like, that was nothing but God. And then she lifted up her hair and she showed everyone that she was missing an ear. after that story, and actually Margaret asked everyone not to talk about this anymore. She was like, we're in a better place. Let's not, we've gotten it out of our system. Let's not talk about the Jingling Man anymore. Cut to Brooke. She checks on the stranger. He still seems totally out of it. He asks, where is he? And Brooke says, the camp. And he starts to freak out. And he says, you got to get out of here. And I mean, before that, she said, well, the camp has been reopened. And he didn't understand what that meant by reopened. And he also mentioned that the phone lines were down. And it was at this point, I don't know if it was right after Brooke checked on him or right before, he looks in the mirror and he notices that he does not have an ear, which is weird because... Okay, I'll get into that towards the end, but the fact that he doesn't have an ear now in relation to the patients that escaped the asylum that we found out later in the episode it doesn't jive. So that's something that we need to revisit. Cut to back at the cabin. All the camp counselors are talking. Brooke mentions that the stranger is wigging out, saying that they all should leave. And then we meet the trainer, the athletic trainer. His name is Trevor. Same gentleman that used to be on the show Glee. He is endowed with endowment, put it like that. And he talks about his previous jobs, like he was in a Jane Fonda workout video. We also learn that he's chill. He comes in there with a six-pack, and Montana is very familiar with him. Mama likes. She likes everything that she sees about him. So they chit-chat. And then, I don't know how we got here this quickly, but we are in the lake now, going skinny dipping. It is Montana and Trevor. And she just said, I got hot. I don't know how, there wasn't like a transition. It was just like, bam, we're in the lake. We're nude. Trevor performs his linguistics. And we see there's a car in the far offness with the headlights, and that kind of spooks Montana. She's like, we need to get out of here. It's about to rain as well. Then I think at this point we cut to the escaped patients, which reminds me, was paying homage to Halloween. How in the beginning of Halloween, when Michael Myers escaped, it was something that happened with the bus. That's in the 1978 version, and also the 2018 of Halloween. There are folks in hospital gowns. They're wandering around the building. The Jingling Man has escaped. We see a flashback as to how. And the way that he did it, it was just like at the beginning of The Goonies with one of the Fratelli brothers. He pretended to commit suicide by hanging, killed one of the orderlies, got the keys, got his glasses, and headed out. I'm going to call this woman, I don't know her name, the doctor. I'm going to call her Female Loomis for right now, for Dr. Loomis, the same guy who was in Halloween. She sees a newspaper clipping in the room of the Jingling Man, which talks about the reopening of the camp, and it shows Margaret's photo is circled. Cut to gas station with Bruce Swayze. There is an obligatory cat scare. We are under the car, working on stuff. We've seen this before. I don't recall the movie where the killer makes the car fall on the mechanic. But that's what happens. And it's pretty graphic, although the blood in his mouth. Jingly steals the car. Bam! Back to cabin. Talk, Olympics. Chet catches a roid rage at Brooke because she mentioned something about the Olympics, about how there's so many guys compared to women. He throws a can at Ray that was coming to Brooke's defense. The can slices Ray's hand. They're like, nurse, can you help? She's like, no, bitch, I'm off. I'm like, well, okay. She was like, but you can find some bandages out there. So they go to look for bandages. That's Ray and Brooke. Brooke actually leaves Ray so she can go into the area where the stranger is laying down. And while she's there, she notices the stranger. I think this is what happens. I think she notices the stranger is not in their bed because a knife is holding him up against the door. Again, Halloween 1. How he killed, I'm going to call him Billy Ray Bob. So she screams the minute that she sees the stranger up on the door. And I think at that time she notices that he's also missing an ear. She looks outside. She sees someone with a hooded black slicker. But at that time, we don't see if it's the face of the Jingling Man. We don't see that right there. We hear the jingle and we see a broad body, but we don't know if that's him. So she gets out of the cabin. She's running, she's slipping, she's falling, she's muddy. She keeps looking behind her. She's still slipping and falling. And I'm going to blame that on the rain and the mud because it's slippery Okay, I get it. I see why you're falling. You're not falling on dryness. It's not leaves that you're slipping on. It's actual mud. Yeah. Got it. So she heads back to the cabin. She gets there. She tells everyone she is freaking out that Mr. Jingly is here. The stranger is dead. I don't know what to do. And everybody's like, whoa, calm down. She says he's out there. One of the guys goes out to see what's out there, and they actually run into Margaret. And she tells Margaret, hey, the Jingly man's here. Stranger's dead. It's Stranger Things. He has no ear. Everything's fucked up. I'm ready to go. And they're like, well, let's go check this out. So they all go back to where the stranger was laying down, and they see nothing. They see a raincoat that's hung up, and there's nothing on the door. There's no blood or anything. So they think she's hallucinated, or she got some contact off that good. Maybe she had a vape cigarette. I mean, who knows? But they feel like she's hallucinated. Since she was running, she fell in the mud and that kind of stuff. Margaret's like, girlfriend, you've got to take a shower. Cleanliness is next to godliness, and you're horrible. This is horrible. Cut back to the girls' cabin, and you hear a phone ring outside, and Brooke looks around like, So she goes to wake up Montana, like there's a phone ringing, and she tells Montana, but he said the lines were down. Montana's like, I don't know what you want me to do. I do sleep with a knife on me because I'm a suspicious person, by the way. So Brooke goes outside to the phone. She answers it, and she just hears someone breathing, and she hears jingly keys. That's it. That's the end of the episode. Okay, so I feel like this is such a whodunit because there are a couple questions that I have right now. So the stranger's ear, when was that cut? Because I don't know if the Jingly man made it to the campus by the time that the stranger noticed that his ear was sliced off. Because like he noticed that before he died. So how'd that happen? The phone lines weren't dead. Why did the stranger tell Brooke that the phone lines were dead? Is this guy from this time period? He had on, looked like 70s type clothes. His hair was 70s-ish. Is there a time portal or something? I don't know. Does everyone in this town wear the same damn slicker like in I Know What You Did Last Summer? Because there were a lot of like false positives when the folks in I Know What You Did Last Summer were trying to find out, well, who's the slicker man? These are just all my questions. Okay, so was Ray an orderly at the asylum? Because at the beginning of the show, he talks about how he just wants to get out of there. And he doesn't say it's necessarily because of the Olympics. Could it be because he's trying to get away from his job? Maybe he's doing some funky stuff as an orderly and he morally doesn't feel cool with that. And I'm wondering, why did Jingly kill Bruce Swayze? He could have just taken the car. But then they would know that the car has been stolen. It would have been contacted. Okay, I get why he killed him. Okay. If that was him, I can't recall if we see Jingly's face. We may have heard the keys, but I don't know if we saw his face. And I also wonder, is Jingly bad or did someone blame him for the murders and that's how he got locked up? Anyways, I am looking forward to the second episode. I wonder if any of these questions will be answered. If you have any thoughts or questions, send us an email or make a comment below. Thank you so much for joining me, Seen It, for a look at American Horror Story 1984, Season 9, Episode 1. All right, and I'm out.
I think that